Hey, my name is Kayren Larrimore, and I'm here to let you know. How do I think people perceive me? That's a loaded question, because when people first get to know me, I can seem very extroverted and very just a cool person to be around. But then once I get to really know you, it gets to where I'm so introverted. Growing up, I used to be a very aggressive person, and just my personality, my demeanor, and that came from just a lot of trauma that I dealt with growing up. But as I got older, I tried to really focus on my healing and not be so aggressive in the way I talked and be mean to everybody, because that was me, like a trauma response, right? So as I got older, I really tried to be more caring, more feminine, and in my femininity, but it's a hard world we live in. So just as I go out into the world, I try to give people what I want back in return, and that's the hardest part. So these are deep. I don't know, we was getting so deep. I think they perceive me as caring. I'm always the mother of the group, so I always try to keep not my friends in line, but I'm like, let's do this, make sure you're not doing this, text me when you get home. I am very charismatic. I'm always willing to do things for people, so I can never say no most of the time, which is probably not the best thing, but I am always giving to people, so I feel like I'm perceived as very much a giver in that way. Very important, because just think about how when you first interact with somebody, your first interaction with them, it can really sway how you feel about them. So you always want to have a good first impression, and then from there, that's really most of the time how you're going to be perceived. So I always want to be perceived as the best possible version of myself, and where people want to be around me, because you've always met people where you're like, oh God, like I don't ever want to be around them ever again. And that's not how I feel like you should want to be perceived. You want to be joyful, you want to be caring, you want to be someone that people gravitate towards you, and your perception and how you grow in the world, whether that be career-wise or friendship-wise, your perception of just how people perceive you is how you're going to excel in the world. Oh, 1000%. So I'm a content creator, and perception is everything, right? Because the way people retain or how they take in your content, or how you're talking and everything, it can really determine how well you do, right? And just you have to be very careful always about kind of like what you say and how you talk to people, how far you can go in really opening up yourself, because you never know how somebody's going to react. When it comes to the fear of perception, I feel like that's one of my biggest fears when creating social media and content, because I never want to be perceived the wrong way. Are we allowed to cuss? Yeah. That I can be a bitch. And it's really, I have the worst resting bitch face of all time, and anybody will tell you, all my emotions I wear like on my face, so if I'm not saying it, my face is. So that's one of my biggest things I feel like people misunderstand about me, is that I'm not being mean and not being rude, but it's just my face. I feel like people always go through changes in life. You have seasons where doors are closing, doors are opening, and I'm in that middle part where I don't know what my next chapter is. I can feel it. There's so much that's about to happen for me, and I'm kind of in the middle part where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of confused. I'm anxious, but I'm trusting that everything is going to work out how it's supposed to be. But God, I'm nervous. There's a lot going on in the world, and I feel like there's not a lot of community. There's not people gathering together, especially just in my neighborhood or the female community, in the Black community, there's not a lot of community. Like that word is so overused, I feel like, and it's not really used to its real value, because I don't feel like there's lots of connections and lots of people gathering together and looking out for each other. It's really, everyone is in their own bubble, and they just want to succeed in their own bubble. They don't want to help the community. So I don't really feel like community is a thing right now. So before I went off to college, I volunteered at a rape crisis center. And a lot of people don't talk about that, nor do they even know that that's a thing, because it's something that's constantly swept under the rug, because you don't want to talk about it, right? It's trauma. It's something that we wish wasn't in society, but it is. So I wish that there were more of like crisis centers and places that people go when they're in crisis, to where it would help build up that community, right? Because we want community in our spaces, but we don't have it. So what I did was I was a hospital advocate, which means when the event would initially happen, they would go to the hospital, and I would be called, whether that's at 2 a.m., whether that's at 2 p.m., I'd be called, and I'd go in and I'd help these women or men or boys or girls, because it can happen to anybody. I would be their advocate in that hospital, letting them know their rights and what they could say yes or no to, or just that I'm that person that's there for them. And I wish that was more of a thing that was talked about. I wish people knew that you could be that, and that brings so much help to people. And just even in like the workforce, like healthcare centers, I feel like more people need a spotlight on them, because they give so much to people that I feel like a lot of people don't realize. So recently, in just this past year, I've grown tremendously in my faith, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people don't talk about, because you never know what religion somebody is or how they feel about it. But Christianity has helped my life so much. It really helped me heal a lot of the trauma that I was mentally going through, because I didn't know how to talk about it, who to talk to. And when you talk to God, it's a different experience, right? Because you're talking to somebody that loves you, and that unconditionally loves you. And I healed a lot of things in me, and I felt like I was such a more happy person, right? Because I wasn't so angry all the time. I wasn't so confused about how I was treating people, or how people were treating me, or how I was being perceived in the world. It really helped me be more secure in myself and find who I was. So religion has been the best thing for me this year. That's a loaded question. Okay, so there's so much money in social media. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the value of social media, because you retain it all day, every day, whether it's the TV, whether it's your phone, whether it's a billboard, there's so much around the world that we don't realize. And people create content every day, whether it's their life, whether it's cooking, whether it's driving down the street. And I feel like once I reach a point where my platform is big enough, that's where I will start making the money that I want to be making, as well as like Airbnb. There's all these different things there's money everywhere. So I plan to just take it all, dip my toe in everything, and then mainly social media, because that's where I'm going with everything right now. That's my job, social media manager and content creator. So I plan to just keep growing my platform on that accord and make money from that. Instantly sad. I feel for them. I feel like the need to help them always. I think it was a couple weeks ago, there was a woman with a dog. Don't let a homeless person have a dog. Don't let them have a dog. Because I ran to the store, I grabbed like a bag of dog food and like a bed and all this stuff, and then I just brought it to her, and then we leave. Like it brings me sadness, but it also, I feel the need to help. So I always want to help, because you never know why someone's in that position, or how they got there, or if they had no other way to go but there. And if you can help somebody, it takes 30 minutes out of your day, do it. It'll help them, and it'll make you feel like you help somebody in your community. Why I cry? The sun can come up, right? I'm such an emotional being. I always have been. And I used to try not to cry, which that's probably the wrong thing to do. But now, as my mother says, if you gotta cry, just cry. I think the last time I cried was, I was watching a movie. It was called Palmer. If you've ever watched it, pretty fucking sad, right? And it was just a scene of like a little boy, and he was chasing after his caretaker, and it touched my heart, and I just started crying. Why do I laugh? I laugh a lot. Just like I cry a lot, I laugh a lot. But I feel like it brings your body so much happiness, and it just brings the people around you so much happiness. And it could be a great icebreaker, right? If you see somebody laughing, you're like, oh, they're so funny. Like, they're laughing, they're having a great time, and it makes you feel good. The last time I laughed, probably like 2 seconds ago. I want to grow my family. So not in have babies and, grow a family, but I want to help my family grow, because my mom, my sister, my dad, I feel like they have a lot of trauma that they haven't really taken care of in a long time. And I recently moved back to my family house. One, because it was the best decision, and two, I felt like I was called to go home, because I'm really close to each person in my family, but we aren't a family, if that makes sense. We are very divided because we're all strong-minded people that we don't listen, right? And we don't hear each other out, or we get stuck in our own ways. And I want the type of family where we're all so close and we listen to each other and we have a healthy relationship. And right now, as much as I love my family and we're all great people, we're not there yet. So that I feel like in the next 6 months, I want to build my family up and heal these things that we've been putting away for so long, right? And that's just gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of crying and a lot of laughing. I have amazing energy, great energy. I've been told that, and I think when I'm smiling or laughing and I'm being just myself, it really radiates to other people, and that's my goal. It's my goal to keep people laughing.
Good job. What was it?
Oh, wow.
Easy.
That was so easy.
How did it feel? It was good?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was easy.
You did really good.